So it's really hard to know where to start with the Tesla Model X, isn't it? There's so much to talk about on this car.
Well, actually, I know exactly where we should start, Ginny.
Okay, the fact that it was the very first all-electric SUV, which meant that mums like us finally had an EV option with enough space to carry all that kit that suddenly appears from nowhere once you have a family.
Well, actually, no. It is a good point, though. But for me, I'm going to have to talk about those iconic falcon wing doors.
The doors are awesome! I love the doors!
They are total showstoppers. And I mean, kids in particular, they absolutely love them, go crazy for them.
They do. I've turned up at school in a Model X at pickup time, and I didn't get home till bedtime because every child in my boys' school needed to see them in action.
They're also really clever because they're fitted with a series of sensors that monitor the surroundings and they're double hinged, hence why they're called falcon wings. But what it does is it works out the angle that they need to open at.
I mean, you know the text there, but it doesn't stop you having heart-stopping moments. In the multi-storey car park, you know the fear that they're going to on the cars next door, even worse, on the roof.
I mean, I must say, I've never managed to actually scrape the side of the door on anything. However, on closing, I might have banged my mum on the head once, or actually twice. Sorry, Mum. Oops. Okay, so let's move on and talk about the car. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and come and say hello to all of us on the usual social feeds.
So the Model X, it's a brilliant full-on luxury SUV that can seat up to 7, depending on what option you go for, with a claim range of up to 315 miles, depending on which battery you go for. It can be recharged up to 80% in as little as 30 minutes at one of Tesla's supercharging points.
Of which there are now loads. And for me, that is a huge plus for any Tesla. The network really is very widespread in far-flung corners of the country, thanks to their destination charging program, and also across most of the motorway network.
The reality is, though, that you shouldn't need to call on those unless you're making a long journey, as most owners will simply do all their charging at home, and the range is huge as well.
Indeed. Now, as sci-fi as those doors are, if you really want a glimpse into the future, then you need to sit in the driver's seat. It is so minimalist. It's also very bright with that enormous glass windscreen that arches back right over your head. You won't find an array of buttons and switches, as everything from the aircon to the Spotify to navigation is controlled by the screen.
Ah yes, the screen. The big screen/control panel appears to be more complex than it actually is. You know, tech should actually make your life easier, shouldn't it? And in this case, it really does, once you've got the hang of it.
Yes, when it comes to tech, none of its rivals come close to the Tesla, and I love how it actually gets smarter the longer you own it. Updates sent to the car over the internet add extra technology and upgrade features while you relax and sleep at home.
In Tesla's menus, you can find all sorts of really interesting things. Everything from the ability to make the car self-drive on some roads, in some conditions, to Tesla's infamous Easter eggs.
These are the little extras that you won't find in the owner's manual, like the ability to transform the screen into a retro games console and special light show.
And the special light shows are my favourite. You can make the Model X dance. It will blast out music, the doors move up and down in time to it, and the lights do that special show. I utterly adore it, but it does drain the battery quite a lot.
Do you dance as well?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
I can't wait to see that. Now, I've just realised that this is probably the longest conversation I've had about a Tesla without fart mode being brought up.
You know why that is? It's because Tom isn't here, and you know what he's like. Childish.
Very childish, I do. Although I must say it is quite entertaining to know that you have the option to turn the seats into a virtual whoopee cushion.
That's true. Quite not so entertaining, though, is the fact that you don't get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Tesla will say that you don't need it, but I do think it would come in handy.
Definitely. Another downside is that rear visibility with the 7-seat model isn't great due to the solid shape and positioning of the seats, but you can opt to have a constant feed from the rear camera onto the screen if it bothers you.
Now, whichever model you go for, you have got a fast car on your hands. The joy of electric power is that when you hit the accelerator, it's instant. Opt for standard model and 0 to 60 takes just 4.4 seconds. Choose the performance and it takes a rather bonkers 2.7 seconds if you put it in ludicrous mode, which I promise is a real thing.
One we are both big fans of, but you do have to pay for it. The Model X isn't cheap, is it?
Well, we're never quite sure actually, are we? Because the prices go up and down all the time, depending on Tesla's mood. You're never quite sure when you're going to get the best deal.
So keep an eye on the Electrifying website for the latest prices and see how it stacks up against the competition.
Now, if you like the idea of a 7-seat luxury SUV with a plug, I suggest you watch our review of the Volvo XC90 T8 and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you know when our latest video has landed.
Right then, quick game of Atari,
Whoopee cushion.